Oh, hey guys, what's up? Just, getting some breakfast in me. You know, I woke up a little while ago. I still got some bedhead up here, but it's fine, it's whatever. And, you know, I'm trying out these, new multi-grain Cheerios now available at your local supermarket. You know, when I poured myself a bowl and I'm looking on the back of the box here, and I noticed that these multi-grain Cheerios, now available at your local supermarket, are made of 5 crucial ingredients. You know, you got corn, you got oats, you got rice, you got something called sorghum, and then you got millet. Millet, see? Right there. And millet was the stuff that Tama had to eat that I didn't know what it was in the last chapter. So I'm like, oh, okay. So she just had to eat Cheerios her entire life. Except for 2 times a year, she gets rice. But hey, there's rice in here too. So Tama, just switch from the millet diet to the Cheerio diet. Everything's gonna be fine. Yeah. There's no milk in here. I drank it all the other day. I had a craving. Alright, anyway, let's get on this. So this will be One Piece chapter 912 titled Amegasa Village, which just translates out to Woven Hat Village. So I'm assuming, don't quote me on this, but I'm going to assume that they make skateboards there. I think that's fair. Okay, so the cover page, like I said last week, we actually have another color spread this week in honor of Shonen Jump's 50th anniversary upon this lovely blue marble of ours. I wonder how much money a first edition copy of Shonen Jump from like back in the 60s would be worth. I wonder. Someone look that up. I might look that up later. But anyway, cover page this week I think is a lot more interesting than the one last week. Last week was just the Straw Hats going for a little shopping spree, and then Luffy running by being kind of a douche and knocking everything over. But in this one it's really cool, okay? You have the Straw Hats all doing certain sports, okay? So of course you have Luffy in the center practicing his karate action. By the way, when Jinbei gets back on the ship, he needs to teach the crew some Fishman karate, alright? Even if it's just basic level shit. Koala is a human. She was able to learn at least some of the stuff, okay? So yeah, I mean, maybe some of them wouldn't be interested, but Nami learning some Fishman karate crap, I mean, that would be cool. That would be cool for Jinbei to do stuff like that. Okay, but we have Luffy there with the karate skills. Then we have Zorro off to the right practicing baseball, and he's playing for the Pittsburgh Pirates, apparently. Okay, I live in Western PA. Pirates are my team. Actually, I'm not a huge Pirates fan. I'm more of a Cubs guy, honestly. Yeah, Pirates are around here. If you're interested, there was a book I read once. It was a biography of a Pittsburgh Pirate player by the name of Roberto Clemente. He played for the team back in the late 50s and the 60s, and he died in the early 70s. But he was a great player, and he had a really inspiring story. He grew up in like the slums of Puerto Rico, and he became a big-time Major League Baseball player. So if you're interested in like sports history and stuff, read a book about Roberto Clemente. It's pretty cool. But yeah, so I just couldn't resist because it's right here. He plays for the damn Pirates. Okay. Then we have Frankie, who's playing basketball. Okay, I guess I could make an NBA Jam reference to that. Remember NBA Jam? Or, oh, Space Jam, even better. Frankie teaming up with the Looney Tunes to play against interdimensional, multicolored aliens. Damn straight. No, in all honesty, Frankie would fit perfectly in Space Jam. In fact, when I was researching images for this joke, I discovered that there's some fans out there that want a sequel to Space Jam featuring anime characters. And I don't think you could consider yourself a true anime fan if you don't think that's a good idea. I mean, come on now. Let's think about this. Goku, Naruto, Ichigo, all teaming up with a famous basketball player. I don't know who's like the well-known, who's like the Michael Jordan of today. I don't know. I don't play basketball. I don't watch basketball. But it doesn't matter. Just get all these anime characters together playing basketball. Man, that would be epic as shit. And I don't even like basketball. Okay, so and Frankie has to be the representative of One Piece. That's the only stipulation. But we have that. We have Sanji, who's swimming. Okay, so I guess I'll make a Free reference. Anyone ever seen Free? Yeah, it was a little bit too yaoi for me, but yeah, there's Free. We got Chopper down there training to become a professional boxer. Yeah, that'll go over great. Rocco, your next opponent is that tiny 3-foot reindeer with the blue nose. Give him hell, Rocco. Yeah, I don't know, Mickey. How am I supposed to do? He's a tiny little reindeer. He's too small. All my shots just go straight over him. Rocco, you gotta do it. All right, Mickey, I'll give it a shot. Actually, that would be funny because Chopper, imagine him walking out into the ring and he's got the well, these are oven mitts, but he's got the boxing gloves on, and then the entire stadium's just like, oh, he's so adorable. And then a big buff, you know, Italian stallion, Rocky Balboa dude steps out and is like, let's do this. And then all of a sudden, Chopper just, boom, just goes into his freaking, his heavy point and just, bam, and then just starts slamming and unloading into the opponent. That would be the upset. That would be like, whoa, didn't see that coming. Yeah, okay. We got Robin down there as a jockey. All right, that's the last thing I expected her to do, but okay, fine. And Chopper is a sniper or a sharpshooter, you know, okay, target shooting events, that's neat. You have Nami playing tennis, which is instantly more interesting than all the chapters and episodes of Prince of Tennis, which I never enjoyed. And then finally, we have Brooke playing soccer, or football as it's referred to in most of the world. But the only reference I have for this, being somebody that really doesn't care much for football, you know, I don't really care much for American football either. I'm not really a sports guy in general, but, you know, the best, most well-known feature film involving soccer or football, which is, of course, Air Bud 3 World Pup, because it has a golden retriever wearing a soccer jersey, and that is adorable. Okay, well, we just spent, what, 5 minutes on the freaking cover page? All right, let's get into the actual chapter. Oh, God, this is going to be a long one. So we start off the chapter where we left off. We have the Tengu dude cradling Tama in his arms. We still don't know what their exact relationship is, if the Tengu dude is her father or grandfather or just her caretaker. We don't know. But anyway, he's cradling her, and he's explaining to Luffy, you know, she doesn't have to live in this place. She could move away if she wanted to, because this area is all polluted with the runoff from Kaido's factories and everything. She has to drink the poison water from the river to survive. She's like, she could leave if she wanted to, but the thing is, years ago, she ran into a pirate named Ace, and they made a promise that Ace would come back here someday and take her away on a grand adventure, so that's why she refuses to leave. And so, just to clarify, just to make damn sure we're talking about the same person here, Luffy kind of is like, oh, okay, well, this Ace you're talking about, you know, because you don't know how many people are named Ace in this world. It might be a very common name. You don't know. Luffy's first name is, well, no, his last name is Monkey, but still, I mean, you just want to make sure, right? So he's like, this Ace you're talking about, it wouldn't be Portgas the Ace, would it, Tama? And Tama just kind of gets up, and she's, you know, very, semi-conscious right now. She's just like, you know him, big brother? And Luffy's like, yep, he's dead. Really, Luffy? Really? Like, I get, okay, fair enough, you don't want to lie to the girl, okay? But if you just say that he's dead when she's in this certain mental state, she's liable to, and she passed out. Oh, good job, Luffy. You caused an 8-year-old girl to lose consciousness out of shock. Way to go, buddy. Way to go. Like, look, okay, it fits Luffy's personality. Luffy's not the kind of guy that's gonna sugarcoat it and everything, but even the Tengu's like, what kind of demon are you, boy? You know, like, why would you even say that? You know, even if it was true, even with what you said is absolutely true, don't you understand there's a time and a place? You just don't go up to someone and say, like, oh yeah, that person you cared so much about, and by the way, I know you're very sickly right now, but just to tell you straight up, yeah, he's dead. He died while back, actually, for like 2 years or so. You know, it's funny. He's just like, could you not have thought of a worse way to say that to her? And to which I started thinking, like, yeah, I could actually think of a few worse ways Luffy could have brought that up to Tama. So there I was, Tama, in the heat of it. The middle of Marineford. Center of the world. All around us, gunfire, blazing, people dying left and right. They were like animals. No, I'm seriously, they were all like animals. Like, I got punched in the face by a Dalmatian zone. But anyway, there was gunfire whizzing around. Whitebeard was shaking the very earth itself. Screams of the children could be heard in the distance. And then there was my brother, on top of the scaffolding. We went there to rescue him. And damn it, we did. Damn it, we did. Me and my fellow buddy, San, we were up there, and his name was literally San 3, but whatever, it doesn't matter. He used his wax powers, also just ignore it, and he opened up the handcuffs and Ace was freed and we fought together for a little while and it was awesome. But then that son of a bitch at Kainu, that red dog came out of nowhere and he fisted my brother so damn hard that he just died right there in my arms. Ace! Why? So yeah, I think if Luffy went ahead and did that, like just relived, like tell his war story to Tama, I think that would be a little bit more traumatic. If Luffy just started breaking down, Ace! Right in front of Tama, like, oh, huh? What? He's dead? Oh my god, that's horrible! But yeah, Luffy just cut to the freaking chase and is just like, oh yeah, he's dead. That's all you need to know. But yeah, anyway, we find out a little bit more about the situation here, okay? So, first off, yeah, Ace came here to Wano about 4 years ago or so. Now keep in mind, this was back when Tama was 5 and she's about to turn 8, so it's probably like 4 years, like almost to the date. So this is probably a little bit poetic, where it's like, you know, 4 years after Ace made the promise, that's when Luffy arrives, okay? Because Ace says that she's 5 when they meet, but the Tengu says it was about 4 years ago, so it was probably like when she was 4 going to be 5, okay? Right, but the timelines really aren't that important. Suffice it to say that this was back when Ace was the captain of his own crew, the Spade Pirates. This was most likely before he joined up with the Whitebeard crew. Because remember, Ace left Fuchsia Village 3 years before Luffy did, okay? So that would be 5 years before the present storyline right now. Okay, so if we're talking 4 years ago, he ran into Tama. This was only like a year or so after he left Fuchsia, and I don't think he's a member of the Whitebeard crew yet, okay? So they had their adventure in Wano first, right? And also they say that, yeah, the Spade Pirates ship, just like the Straw Hats, just like the Thousand Sunny, got washed up on shore, and then that's when they met Ace. And at the time, the villagers of Ashigasa were extremely famished, and they were just dying off left and right of starvation, and so when the Spade Pirates arrived, they tied up the crew, and Ace pretty much just let them do it, because, you know, he could easily break out, and so the villagers raided the Spade Pirates ship, and they took all the food, and they, you know, devoured it because they were starving, and Ace is a cool dude, so he let them do it, but afterwards, he just, you know, lit up the rope and got freed, and was just like, hey, where can I get you guys some dessert now, you know? So they learned that Ace was a pretty cool dude, that he didn't mind that they took his food because they were starving, and so they became friends, and then that's when Ace met Otama, and we can even see here in the flashback of Ace learning how to make straw hats, or the Casa hats, like we find out later from Oars Jr.'s backstory. So the Tengu's name is actually Tengu Yama Hitetsu, who is a bladesmith, or a swordsmith, okay? And he's been living here in Ashigasa Village with Tama, and he explains that Ashigasa, they're the only 2 remaining residents, okay? And we get a pan out to see the actual village, because we only got to see, like, their shack in the last chapter. We pan out and we see the village, and it is just a bunch of shacks that are completely abandoned and dilapidated, and just ruins everywhere, and it's just a mess. And he explains that a little over a year ago, there was a pirate by the name of X Drake, who's a member of the Supernovas, but Luffy heard his name before, but Luffy's never had a direct dealing with Drake, so he wouldn't know him, really, and Luffy's probably not going to be the kind of guy to remember the first time he was mentioned by Shocky, so, you know, Luffy's not going to really bring up, like, oh, the dinosaur guy. Luffy doesn't know about him, okay? He's never had a direct confrontation with Drake. But he says that, the Tengu guy says, yeah, X Drake was made one of Kaido's headliners, which, by the way, in case you're curious what headliner means, from my understanding of SpongeBob SquarePants, the headliner is the one that cleans up after the show. So I hope that brings you up to speed. So X Drake is the one that cleans up the mess, essentially. No, he's just a higher-ranking member of the crew. Probably not. Like, it probably goes like Kaido, and then the Calamities, and maybe the headliners. Maybe it's like every Calamity has a headliner. Like, every headliner has a Calamity they work directly under, or something along those lines. Okay, but anyway, X Drake was given this high position, and he just strolled into Ashigasa Village, and then Tengu Yama mentions that there were 5 well-trained samurai that were to guard our village, but X-Drake and his minions just wiped them all out, took out the entire town, and they were setting up the factories. And Tekking101 goes on to say that pretty much all of Wano has been rendered a wasteland, an uninhabitable wasteland with the poison, the pollution, the runoff, the factories, wiping out all of our forests and everything. And the only place left in the entire country that's cool is the flower capital, the place that we saw that had the Shogun's castle in it a few chapters ago with Usopp the merchant and Robin the geisha. You know, that place is still okay to live, but all the other places in Wano have been like heavily deforested and polluted by Kaido and his factories. Luffy introduces himself to Tekking101, stating, of course, the typical, you know, I'm Luffy, and I'm the man that's gonna be king of the pirates, you damn long nose. And, of course, the Tengu is just like, oh, you're a pirate! I never really cared much for them. You know, yeah, I think you probably wouldn't, given all the crap that happened with Kaido. But Tekking101 goes on to explain that he's actually waiting here in the village for someone as well, although it's not Ace, it's someone else. That's the reason he can't leave. So there might not actually be any blood relation between Tekking101 and Otama. It might just be like they're the only ones that were from this village that still need to stay there for whatever reason. Otama waiting for Ace and Tekking101 waiting for someone else. Who this someone else is, I have no idea. Strangely enough, even after explaining the whole history between Ace and Tama and Ashigasa Village, Luffy does not actually explain to them that Ace is his brother. And I don't really know why. I mean, he's not obligated to, but he was just so blunt with the way of saying, Ace is dead. You know, you can't just say that. I mean, you should probably, they're going to question you. They're going to be like, okay, well, how do you know that? And, you know, Luffy, you don't have to go into the whole, like, you know, the whole war story thing I was doing earlier, but you could just say, Ace was my brother, and I was with him when he died. That's all you have to say, okay? And now, Luffy, look, I still think Luffy still has some, you know, problems with that psychologically. All right, he's kind of dealt with the brunt of it, you know, to the point where after Ace died, he got put into, like, he passed out just from the trauma. And afterwards, you know, on Amazon Lily, he was wrecking everything. But, you know, you're always going to carry that with you a little bit, you know, the death of your loved one, okay? So maybe Luffy just doesn't want to go there, and he saw Tama, you know, waiting for him, and Luffy above all else, anyone else in the world, Luffy knows Ace is never coming back. So he didn't want this little girl to be waiting for longer, you know, for something that's never going to happen. So maybe that's why Luffy just blurted it out of his mouth. He's like, oh, Ace is dead. He's dead. He's not coming back. Just to kind of like throw it right at the girl. But maybe he himself is really not ready to sit down and have this conversation with somebody. You know, be like, yeah, Ace was my brother and he died in my arms. You know, that would be some pretty heavy shit to do, and I don't have siblings, okay? I've never had a loved one really ridiculously close to me die, certainly not the way that Ace died, you know, right in Luffy's arms, and he witnessed it happen, you know, so, you know, take it one step at a time, I guess, and the reason Luffy said it that way to Otama was just to, like, rip that Band-Aid off as quickly as possible. But we might still get a heartfelt moment later on in Wano. We might get a moment where Luffy does sit down with Tama and explain his relationship to Ace and all of what happened. Okay, so we'll see where this is going, right? And then he asks Tekking101, like, is there a hospital around here? Is there a doctor around here? I'm gonna take Otama because she helped me out. And so he gives him a spiffy top knot as well as a kimono. It has a few patches in it, but it looks pretty neat, of course, because he's gonna stand out like a sore thumb if he just walks around Wano wearing what he was wearing. So he gives him this, and Luffy's like, well, this is pretty cool and everything, but I'd really prefer some, like, Kabuto samurai armor. And the Tengu is just like, no, you can't. What are you talking about? People just don't walk around. You're not a samurai. You don't just, normal people don't walk around wearing armor. You'd stick out even worse if you did that. And Luffy's just like, oh, okay. And the weird thing is, Luffy asks, is there a doctor around here? When you came here with Chopper, I don't really know. Maybe he think, well, if there's a doctor closer, I'll go there, because I don't know where Chopper is. I don't know. But you think, like, you wouldn't even screw around with the Wano doctors. You'd be like, all right, give me Otama. I'll try to find my reindeer friend. And then later on, Luffy's saying, I need to go find my friends. So, whatever. I don't know. They're probably going to run into Chopper, and Chopper's going to be the one to fix up Tama, so it's not really a big deal. Tengu states that he can't help Luffy by going into town with him for reasons, most likely because he is tied to the Kozuki clan as well. But he says, hey, look, if you meet my ally allies in town, then they will help you for free. There will be no medical expenses. They'll just help you, okay? So just try to find my colleagues and my allies, and everything will be cool. So yeah, I'm thinking most likely Tenguyama is a member of the Kozuki clan. Even though his name doesn't have Kozuki in it, he could still always be a retainer or somebody, you know? Maybe not a member of the actual family, but somebody that's sympathetic to their cause along those lines, kind of like with Otama. Now, here's something. Luffy, before leaving, notices off to the side that there just happens to be a katana, you know, just in the room. So, Luffy being Luffy is like, well, this is Wano. I can't walk around a samurai country without having a samurai sword. So he just picks up this sword without even asking. It's like, oh, thanks for the top knot and the kimono. I'm going to take this too. Later, and the Tenguyama's like, whoa, 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 whoa. You can't take that sword. That's a really rare sword. That's one of the 21, you know, Owazamono swords. And Luffy's just like, oh. Okay, but I want to take it, you know, basically. All right, and you know, this sword, you know, how important could it really be? I mean, it's just the Shodai Kitetsu. It's nothing big. Oh my god, it's the Shodai Kitetsu! Yes! Callback! Oh man, it's been so freaking long since we've referenced this. Thank you, Oda. Just get it out of the way. I mean, look, and I realized, you know the reason why it really hasn't been brought up for most of the One Piece story ever since Logtown when they were going over I mean, ever since then, every now and then we'll mention a sword's name, or it's a cursed blade, like Law's sword is a cursed blade, or Mihawk's sword, you know, but for the most part, we don't really mention the whole Kitetsu thing, but that's because usually it's not like a big, you know, most islands the Straw Hats go to aren't like a big sword mecca. Wano is a big sword mecca. It's a samurai country, so, you know, if there was going to make any sense where it would be mentioned here, and Oda's getting to it, like, right away, like the 3rd chapter of Wano, we're already bringing this up, so awesome on you. But yeah, Shodai Kitetsu makes its debut in this chapter, wielded by Luffy, a person that has no swordsmanship ability whatsoever. Except that one time where he got the shadows put into him, but I don't think that gets retained. Okay, so, yeah. So I made a whole video about sword ranks. I actually also made a video about the Kitetsu, and I'll put that up here. In fact, that sword rank video is one of my most viewed videos of all time. Okay, so go check that out. But just for a quick recap, for those of you that don't want to stop this video and go watch another one, in terms of sword grades, or Meito, you got 4 major grades. Only 3 are mentioned in this chapter, but there are 4. Right, so how Meito grades work is at the very tippy top, you got the 12 Saijo Owazamono, or the 12 Supreme Grade swords. These are the swords that are the best swords in the entire world, and there's only 12 of them, and we know only about 2 of them so far. One of them is Yoru, the black sword wielded by Mihawk. That makes sense. He's the strongest swordsman in the world. He has one of the strongest swords in the world. And then the other one is the Shodai Kitetsu, which is the 1st generation Kitetsu. And just as in case you forgot, in case you just got hit on the head and you forgot a lot of One Piece knowledge, this sword right here, the one that Zorro wields, is the Sandai, or the 3rd generation Kitetsu. And all the Kitetsu swords are cursed. And then the Nidai is another sword we see in this chapter. And this sword right here, the Nidai, is part of the 21 Owazamono, or just the Great Grade swords, which is 1 tier below Saijo. Okay, so 21 of these. Nidai is one of them. Also, this is the rank that both Shusui and the Wado Ichimonji are part of. So, I'm thinking, if at some point in this arc, if Zorro loses the Sandai Kitetsu in some way, or it gets destroyed or whatever, and Zorro has to pick up the Nidai instead, Zorro will have 3 of the Owazamono grade swords in his collection. They're not the absolute best in the world, but still, they're pretty damn good, and there's only 21 of them, and Zorro would have 1/7 if he got the Nidai. He would have 3 out of these 21, so that's pretty damn cool. And then the 3rd rank down is the 50 Skillful Grade, or Ryu-Wazamono grade swords, and Yubashiri was part of this rank. This is the rank that Zoro's Yubashiri was, the one he got at Logtown at Ippon Matsu's shop that was broken by Shu during Eni's lobby. Right. Okay. And then finally, there's a 4th rank below this. I don't know why it wasn't mentioned in this chapter, maybe just because it wasn't worth it, but the lowest rank of a sword, that a sword could still have a name and a status, is just Wazamono sword. Okay, and there's an undetermined number of that. We don't know how many Wazumono swords are out there, but that is actually the class that the lowest grade of the Kitetsu, the Shodai Kitetsu, the one that Zoro's wielding, is in the Wazumono class. Okay, so that's basically just a quick rundown on swords. I'm really happy that we're finally mentioning this, and Luffy, of all people, ends up getting the knee dye. So he begins to run away. Tekking101 stops him, like, you can't take that sword. It's cursed. My question is, if it was cursed, why not keep it in a safe, or not even a safe, but it seemed like you just had it hanging on the wall, you know, like, hide it, put it somewhere. It's a cursed blade. Anyone that picks the damn thing up is liable to kill themselves. So, you know, just, you know, hide the thing, but whatever. Luffy just picks it up, and he's like, you know, you can't take that sword. It's a cursed sword. You'll die, probably, or it might hurt Tama. And Luffy's like, oh, okay, well, I'll trade you. Give me the sword that you have. And Tekking101 doesn't mention the name of the sword he has, but he also mentions that it's a famous sword as well, and it has a status. He says that my sword is also world-renowned, but he doesn't actually state the actual status, if it's Ryu Wazumono or Owazumono, or maybe it's even maybe of the Supreme grade, one of the 12 Saijo Owazumono. We don't know, but he also has a really popular one as well. And so just keep that in mind. We're going to be probably running into a lot of swords in Wano. We're only 3 chapters deep into it so far, and we already got, like, not just knee dye, but also this other sword that he's wielding. We got the sword wielded by Kinemon. That's probably at least a named blade. Law's wandering around here. He's got Kikyoku, which is Demon's Whale. That's I don't think it's a named blade, but it is a cursed blade, it was stated. So, yeah, it's a lot of swords. A lot of swords we're going to be doing in here in Wano. It's going to be Swordapalooza, so don't stab your eye out, kids. But Luffy just runs off with the knee dye, and honestly, I was kind of like sitting there kind of nervous, like, oh man, is this going to be like something from the movie Film Gold when he got his luck removed by Baccarat? Like, Luffy's just running around with the knee dye, and he's slipping on banana peels and knocking over shit and accidentally almost getting his head lopped off by the tops of trees and everything. But no, everything seems to be going okay. He runs out of the shack, and the Koma Inu pops up and gives them a ride, and they start running through the forest and everything. This is at that time that Tama wakes back up, and oh, Luffy gave her his straw hat. That's cute. But yeah, Tama wakes up, and Luffy's like, oh, hey, how you doing? I hope this dog knows which way to go. And Tama's like, big brother, you're a liar about Ace. And so once again, Luffy doesn't bring up the situation involving his brother or anything. Tama just kind of grabs his cheeks and is just kind of stretching them out, like, you're a liar because he promised me he'd come back. And Luffy doesn't even do like a, no, you don't understand, let me explain. Luffy just kind of lets her do it. And so you can still tell, like, Luffy does not want to talk about this. He kind of really doesn't. But I think at some point, yeah, that's going to happen where they're going to have to sit down. We get a little bit more of the flashback involving Tama and Ace, where we see him actually making the Casa hat there, along with other members of the Spade Pirates behind him. And the promise was that, okay, look, you know, Tama, this is Ace talking, you know, Tama, you're only 4 years old, or 5 years old, or whatever. You're a little bit too young, but tell you what, when we come back to this island someday, you wait for me, and when you become a really strong, beautiful kunoichi, you know, then we'll take you on a grand adventure, okay? And that explains why Otama last chapter was like, oh, I don't have to eat because I have to keep my figure to be a kunoichi. So that's kind of, I mean, she doesn't have a lot of food to begin with, but I can imagine part of her was just like, oh, I have to be careful how much I eat, because if I eat, then I might not maintain my figure, and if I don't maintain my figure, I can't be a kunoichi, and if I'm not a kunoichi, then Ace won't take me away. So, yeah, probably some issues with that. I mean, keep in mind she's only a little kid here, so probably not that much logic, you know, flowing around in her head, but, you know, that's what she's trying to do, you know, become a kunoichi and get Ace to, you know, come back and take her on a trip. He also mentions, oddly enough, yeah, if you become an enchanting kunoichi, by the time we come back, then we'll take you with us. And the members of the Spade crew were just like, oh, Captain Ace, she doesn't have to be enchanting now. Like, okay, enchanting like what? Are we talking Sakura kind of enchanting? Or Hinata? Ooh, Hinata was a really enchanting kunoichi. Or, ooh, Samui from the Hidden Cloud Village. Oh, man, I've never met a more enchanting ninja girl in my life right there. Woo! It is kind of hot in this room. Okay, anyway, moving on, we get back to the present, and after remembering all this stuff and how kind Ace was, that's when Tama starts bonking Luffy on the head, like, ah, no, you can't be dead, you liar! And so they finally arrive at the edge of the forest, and yeah, pretty much it really is a wasteland. I mean, just wiped out area, completely deforested, there's the river running through it, but it's poisoned and polluted by the factories. You can see the factories in the distance. This kind of reminds me of the Lorax, I think? Wasn't it the one with the Lorax? With the pollution and tearing down the forest and everything, and the Lorax was trying to, you know, help everybody and be like, no, you can't do that, it's the trees, you know, the trees. So that's what this reminds me of, the freaking Lorax, you know? But yeah, heavy industrialization is killing Wano, and they state that, yeah, those factories are all making various weapons and things for Kaido. So, yeah, I could see Kaido setting up shop here. We don't know exactly how long he's been in Wano, but he's setting up shop here. He has the capital where the Shogun is staying at, and Kaido probably stays there too. And they mention, oh, they have clean meat and clean water and clean fish and everything to eat for them and their men, but pretty much the rest of Wano is shit out of luck on this. Okay, yeah, it's like heavy industrialization during the, you know, early 20th century. You know, when all these factories started popping up and pumping so much freaking CO2 and smog and everything into the atmosphere. I mean, it was so bad back then at the turn of the century that you would literally have that acid rain shit coming down. Okay, this was before there were any kind of, like, any regulations or anything on this stuff. It was just pumping all this crap into the atmosphere, and it just wiped out the surrounding areas in really heavily populated cities. And still, in some cities, it ain't that great. I mean, here's a picture of Hong Kong. Look at the level of smog there. But it's at least a little bit better than where it was at the turn of the 20th century. But this is basically what we're dealing with here. And I can't help but say, you know, this is going to be a parallel to, you know, Oda's trying to do something along the lines of kind of like the Lorax here, because you have Wano, which is indicative of feudal Japan, and Japan is, you know, always regarded as this beautiful country, serene forests and mountains. It's just a gorgeous landscape, and then Kaido comes in and then ruins it, and then pollutes the land and destroys the beauty of the nation. So this really is a country that is dying in a lot of different senses, and it's going to be up to the Straw Hats and their crew to defeat Kaido to not just save the people of Wano, but the country of Wano itself. In fact, I could totally see a fight where Luffy or the other members of the Straw Hats are, like, around this factory and they're fighting against a calamity or something, and then Luffy's just like, get the hell out of this country, like Grizzly Magnum, and hits a calamity, and he slams into the factory, and the factory gets destroyed in the background and shit. And it's like, you know, this country is going to be better from now on, something along those lines. I could totally see that going down. But, yeah, it's kind of sad to see a beautiful country ruined by Kaido. We see some animals running around. We see a wild boar that's being chased by a tiger that's being chased by a croco shark. Okay, so I guess Crocodile and Hody did the fusion, ha! But, yeah, Luffy, of course, is like, ooh, animals, that should taste good, right? But Otama's like, no, you can't eat the animals because the animals, they're drinking from the same river I drank from. So they might have a higher tolerance for it, but they can still move around, but they're just as poisonous as the water is, so I would really highly advise not to eat them. So Luffy gets supremely pissed off because he was like, wait a second, I was about to eat some meat, and then Kaido's crew ruined that said meat. Strap in, Tama. Shit's about to get rubbery, you know, okay? Because Luffy's pissed. He's like, I was about ready to eat these animals, and then you ruined it. They ruined it for me? Oh, no. So they're about ready to go when in the distance they could hear some screaming, and we hear a woman in the background, and then we hear other people saying, you know, get back here, woman! And so it's kind of like we're repeating what happened last chapter, you know, with Otama and everything. But Luffy's like, he hears somebody say, get back here, woman, and Luffy immediately goes to, oh, that's Sanji, cool. Hey, Sanji! Wait, no, that's not Sanji. But, yeah, so we cut over to a scene where there's a bunch of Kaido's men that are chasing after a woman, and then another figure behind them leaps out of the shadows and cuts them down, saving the woman, and, you know, she's really grateful and everything, and then so the man, the shadowy man, takes the sake off of one of Kaido's Kaido's men, and he starts downing it in a single glug, and the woman's like, "Oh my god, thank you, kind sir, kind stranger. Is there anything I could do, you know, to repay you?" And Zoro's just like, "Oh, you could get me some more sake." And he's like, "But I don't have any." I'm like, "All right, we'll deal with it." And that was supposed to be a surprise, but yeah, ba-da-ba-bum, it's Zorro, or rather Zorjiro, the wandering samurai, the Ronin. So Luffy spots him from a distance, and he's like, "Hey Zorro, how you doing?" And they get close to each other, and Zorro spots him, and he's like, "Oh Luffy, it's been forever." And they jump on each other, have like a little bit of a bro hug there. They're like, "Man, how you been? Awesome." So they're there. And Zorro is just like, "Oh yeah, Luffy, hey, yeah, these animals, there's a bunch of wild animals wandering around. You can kill them and eat them, man, they're good." And Luffy's like, "Actually, Zorro, I just found out they're poisonous, so you probably shouldn't do that." And Zorro's just like, "Huh, they're poisonous, huh? Glug, 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 That would probably explain why my stomach's hurting so much." So, once again, they probably... Plus, Luffy has the highest poison tolerance, like, out of all the characters in One Piece. Okay, maybe not that high. I'm gonna assume the character that has the highest poison tolerance would be Magellan, the one that actually ate the Doku Doku no Mi, but Luffy still has a pretty high poison tolerance. I think he could kill those animals and eat them, and he wouldn't have any negative side effects. But it's the principle of the thing, man. It's the principle. These were perfectly good slabs of meat that you ruined with your factory, Kaido. Right, so they all hop on the Koma Inu, and Luffy brings Zoro up to speed, like, "Yeah, we gotta get this girl to a hospital because she's dying from the poison and everything." And Zoro's like, "Oh, okay." So they're about ready to head off when they're stopped by a voice. And this voice is none other than the headliner, Basil Hawkins. So yeah, we're wasting no time here. Last chapter, Basil Hawkins is like, "I'll take care of it," and here he is, taking care of business every day. Taking care of business. I'm a freaky magician dude. Yeah. So anyway, Basil shows up riding on a deer with antlers and flowing mane. Yeah, I'm gonna have to lay down what this thing is in the captions because I actually forgot to look this up. But there's two more of his men, actually three more of his men behind him that are all riding on the snakes, and he refers to the snakes as he-he's. You know, he states that, you know, two of my men as well as one of my he-he's, you know, went missing on the beach, and I was actually heading this way, and there's actually a 98% chance that you were responsible. So still doing the tarot card readings and everything, he's like, the tarot cards can't tell him 100%, I guess, in a lot of situations, because it was obviously Luffy that you managed to defeat the two men and the he-he. By the way, last chapter I made a mistake with that. I thought Luffy used Red Hawk to attack one of the snakes because I saw Luffy stretching and then I just saw an explosion of fire, so my mind immediately went to Red Hawk. I don't know why I would think that. But Luffy actually kicked one of the snakes, and it was when he kicked it, it reeled back, and the guy went to go fire his gun, and it discharged and hit the snake in the head. So that's what actually happened. You know, okay, fine. But anyway, yeah, Basil's here, and he's like, "Yeah, I'm pretty sure I know it was you guys. I'm here to settle the score. And here in the Wano country, you can either follow the strong or disobey them and live your life in hiding." That's kind of a lame sort of ultimatum. It's just like, you can follow the strong or you can live in hiding. You know what would be more powerful than that? You can follow the strong or you could die. That'd be just a little bit more impactful, Hawkins. I'm not telling you how to do your intimidation job, but just throwing that out there. So, yeah, we're rearing up for a fight, and it's a good place, too, because it's in the middle of this freaking wasteland. They could go nuts. You know, Luffy can be busting out Gear 3rd, Gear 4th shit. Zoro could be doing his, you know, Santoryu crazy techniques. They can rip the entire land apart. It's already ruined. So, go for it. And we could probably find out what, how Hawkins' devil fruit is called next chapter. And maybe get a little bit more of introspective on how he uses it in a straight-up fight. Because the only time we've ever really seen him use his devil fruit in a battle was against Kizaru when he used that Gamu no So ability. But Kizaru took him out so quick, we didn't really get to see how he actually fights. I mean, he uses the nails to stab, but there has to be other facets to it. And considering he also has the voodoo doll ability, I could see Zoro running up to Hawkins and just, like, cutting him right down the chest. And he's like, "Well, that was easy," but then he just gets back up and the voodoo doll just crawls out like, "Eh, I can't die," or "I have, like, 10 extra lives," or whatever the hell. But anyway, yeah, last scene of the chapter, we have Luffy and Zorro getting ready for combat. Zorro takes out Shui, gets ready to take out his Kitetsu, and then Luffy doesn't even bother with his, like, you know, like, he usually, like, you know, revs up his arms or something, but in this situation, because he's in Wano, even though he has no skill with a sword whatsoever, Luffy starts reaching for the knee-dye Kitetsu, like, yeah, let's do this! So, I'm excited on where this is going to go, and the only thing that could possibly ruin it is, number one, that humming in the background. And also, there's a break next week! So yeah, that's what you gotta deal with. Sometimes there's a break next week, and sometimes your neighbor decides to start mowing the lawn. What are you gonna do? You just gotta deal with it, I guess, I suppose. But anyway, yeah, this was a lot of fun chapter. We got to find out some backstory with Ace back when he was still a member of the Spade Pirates. At least I'm pretty sure he was just a member of the Spade Pirates back then. We don't really get to look at his back to see if the Whitebeard crew, Jolly Roger was there. We only got to really see him from the sides and the front, but I'm pretty sure he was just a member of the Spade Pirates here. The Need-Eye Kitetsu, of course, was the star of this chapter. We finally got to find out more about sword grades, and that we're going to find out more, a lot about swords in the future. And since the Need-Eye Kitetsu, Tenguyama mentions it was his ancestor that originally crafted the Kotetsu, so he is a descendant of Kotetsu, Kotetsu being the name of the swordsmith that originally made them, okay? So, if we're going along with that logic, it's very likely that the Shodai Kitetsu, the first generation, the strongest one, and one of the 12 great, the Saijo Wazumono grade swords, that one is in Wano as well, and is probably in the hands of the Shogun right now. Alright, so look forward to that. As for Hawkins, I have no idea what he's going to do. I don't think it's going to be a straight-up fight in the sense of, like, Luffy and Zorro just kick the shit out of Hawkins and we never find out about him throughout the rest of the arc. But we're still going to get a pretty heavy fight with them, and Hawkins might be the kind of guy that's like, okay, let's fight, and you're fighting, and then the fight's not going too well. And then he does his tarot card shit, and he's like, yeah, there's a 10% chance that I could, you know, win here, so I should probably get the hell out. So, you know, he might do something like that, like, oh shit, it's actually looking pretty good that I might die here. Okay, I'm out, later guys. And then he goes back to maybe Kaido or a Calamity, his superior, and then explains the situation. And then maybe we'll get to see more of Hawkins later down the arc as well, because I don't want to see Hawkins taken out that quickly, you know what I mean? But anyway, yeah, a lot of cool stuff in this chapter. Can't wait for 2 weeks, and then we get maybe a badass Hawkins three-way supernova battle. So that'd be cool. Alright, thanks for watching, everybody. Remember to check out your local supermarket for multigrain Cheerios. May reduce heart disease, and they're made out of 5 whole grain oats. Signing out.